Hello everyone. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Let me introduce myself. My name is Adilani Lulmuna, and now I will explain you what my article that is why chasing a perfect accent inhibits fluency among Indonesian learners. This I will present my reading journal based on an article about pronunciation. And then I will also explain why focusing too much on a perfect accent can actually make students less fluent in speaking English. Okay, here there is an article overview. You can see here the title is EFL Learners' Attitudes Toward Native-like Pronunciation versus Intelligibility, and then this focus to accent versus being understood. This method is qualitative. So here this articles is discusses about students' opinion about pronunciation. Some students want to sound like native speakers. For example, like Americans or British people. However, many students think that being understood is more important than having a perfect accent. So the research uses interviews and journals to understand students' experience. Okay, so we go to the next slide. On this next slide, there's a pre-reading strategy and Will's reading strategy. So we going to pre-reading strategy first. On this pre-reading strategy, there is the I use this strategy is previewing and questioning. The questioning is about title and abstract, and then identify general idea, and then create question. This question is like, why do students want native accents, or who are the participants, or what problem do students face? Okay, here I'll first look at the title. I can already guess that the article compress native-like pronunciation and intelligibility, but then I made some questions. For example, why do students want to sound like native speakers? Is it really important, or this strategy helps me focus while reading because I already know what I am looking for? Okay, so Will's reading strategy. Here I use highlighting, underline important information, and then focus on answered question. For example, students prefer intelligibility over native-like accent, and then data collected through interview and journal. Here, while reading, this is a while reading, I underlined important information. For example, the article says that the most students prioritize intelligibility. This means they want to be understood clearly. Another important point is this that students are afraid of making pronunciation mistakes, so they become hesitant to speak. By highlighting this part, I can easily find the main ideas of the article. Okay, next slide is there is a post reading strategy. I use the reviewing strategy, that is a check answers, summary, summarize text, evaluate understanding answer, and accent is not the main goal. Communication is more important. So after reading, post-reading is after we read the article or the book. I checked my question again. I found that perfect accent is not necessary. The most important thing is communication. Then I made a simple summary that I think this helps me understand the article better and remember the key ideas. Okay, while I read this article, my reading problem is the first one is difficult vocabulary. For example, intelligibility. This is unfamiliar for me. And then suprasegmental, long sentences, complex concept, and research terms. Here, my reading problems. Also, while reading, I also faced some difficulties. First, there are many difficult words like intelligibility, suprasegmental, which mean being understood. Second, some sentences are very long, so I need to read them more than once. I think like twice or more. Then third is there are academic terms that I am not familiar with. To solve it, I used a dictionary and reread the sentences. Okay, the next is there is a key findings from article. So here, the students admire native speakers but prefers intelligibility. Students feels anxiety when speaking. So I think from these key findings, the article shows there is an important findings. The first is that students admire native speakers because they think it sounds more professional. Then the second one is even though they admire it, they prefer to be understood. And then the third is students. Many students feel anxious when speaking because they are afraid of making mistakes. So this anxiety can reduce their confidence also. Okay, next slide. There is an exercise and add instruction or quite length here. So on this exercise is individual exercise extend a student's grasp of the lesson. It allows them to scientists on their own and think of ways they can apply their new learnings in real life. Duplicate this page as many times as needed to give you more space for discussion. Okay, next is this example from real life. In our real life, okay, there is the situation. The first is situation. There's a student focuses too much on accent. For example, the example is, I want to speak like American, so I think too much before speaking. And then the result, speak slowly and lost ideas, and of course, not fluent. So, a student wants to sound like a native speaker, so he thinks too much about pronunciation. Because of this, he speaks slowly and sometimes forget about what he wanted to say. This make him this make me, you, or others is less fluent. And this example shows that focusing too much on accent can disrupt fluency. So the next slide is relation to my research topic and then why this research is important. The first one is relation to my research topic. The topic is native speaker myth. The problem is student accent case, perfect accent. And then the impact is less fluency, more anxiety, lack of confidence. So here, this article is very related to my research. Many students believe that they must sound like native speakers. This is called the native speaker myth. And then because of this belief, students focus too much on accent. And then as a result, they they become less fluent, more anxious, and less confident. Then why this research is important? Urgency of research is help improve teachers and then support students' real needs, reduces pressure to some native, and then encourages confidence. The, uh, this research is important because many students misunderstand the goal of learning English. They think perfection is the goal, but actually communication is the goal. So if this continues, students will have difficulty on speaking. Therefore, teachers should help students focus on clarity, not perfections. Okay, I think this last because we'll move on to summary. The summary is so simple. Is accent is not the main goal. Fluency and communication are more important. So, in conclusion, we should not focus too much on perfect accent. Instead, we should focus on speaking clearly and confidently. So, being understood is more important than sounding like a native speaker. So, I think that's all from me, guys. Thank you for your attention. I hope this presentation helps you to understand the importance of focusing on communication first and then the action later. So, do you have any question? Drop your question on the comment sections below. So, thank you very much. See you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.